believe that being kind will save you, that if you just give enough, tolerate enough, sacrifice enough, she'll finally see your worth. You've convinced yourself that your patience is strength, that your willingness to endure rejection is romantic, that your softness is virtue. But she doesn't love you for it. She leaves you for it. Nietzsche warned us, he who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises. Every time you lower your voice to please her, every time you say yes when your soul screams no, every time you make yourself small to make her feel big, you are feeding the fire that will one day burn you. She doesn't want a man who apologizes for existing. She doesn't want a servant who brings flowers to his own funeral. She wants mystery. She wants edge. She wants to feel something she can't predict, and you've become predictable in your goodness. That's why she doesn't desire you, because in the hierarchy of desire, kindness without strength is invisible. You grew up being told that good men win. But let me ask you, who wins her heart? The man who texts good morning every day, or the one who disappears and lives a life so intense she can't look away? You see, kindness is not a virtue when it's your last card. It's not noble if it's your only move. It's not power if it comes from fear of losing her. She doesn't see your kindness as a gift. She sees it as a symptom of your weakness, and deep down, you feel it. You feel the ache of being overlooked, the sting of being perfect on paper, and yet never chosen. You feel the shame of watching her cry over the man who treated her like an afterthought, while you, the kind one, sat silently, hoping she'd finally see you. But she won't. Not until you become what you said you were never taught to be: a man who values his own presence more than her validation. A man who could walk away without flinching. A man who doesn't have to be kind to be respected because he knows his boundaries and he enforces them. This video isn't for the comfortable. It's for the forgotten. The kind men who were replaced. The men who gave everything and still lost. It's time you understand. You weren't too kind. You were too easy to erase. You've been lied to, told from the start that if you're nice, not just polite but agreeable, accommodating, unthreatening, women will want you. They'll respect you. They'll stay. But you already know how this story ends. You were the shoulder she cried on. The safe one. The stable one. The one she said was so sweet right before she went back to the man who scared her a little because at least he made her feel something. Let me teach you the first rule. Women don't crave kindness. They crave danger, restraint. Not violence, not cruelty, but danger, potential power, unpredictability. A man who could destroy, but chooses not to. And here you are, neutralized. Every edge shaved down, every instinct dulled, every confrontation avoided. You were taught that masculinity was toxic, so you neutered yourself. You apologized for your masculinity before anyone asked, and still she left. Because no woman trusts a man who's incapable of drawing blood. She doesn't need you to be safe. She needs to feel that you are dangerous, but you choose to protect her. Kindness without power is not virtue. It's submission. It's fear in disguise. Even Jung knew it. The man who is incapable of violence is not peaceful. He is harmless, and women don't respect the harmless. They pity them, and then they leave them. You thought by playing it safe, you were showing love. But safety is sterile, predictable, emotionally dead. She needs the adrenaline of wondering, could he walk away if I crossed the line? Would he let me manipulate him? Or would he call me out? Does he need me, or is he choosing me? You gave her all the answers too soon. You made yourself a solved puzzle. And in doing so, you killed the mystery, the one thing that keeps desire alive. Danger is not about hurting her. It's about being unshakably yourself. Unapologetic, unmovable. A man who holds his line even when she cries. A man who says no when it's not convenient for her. A man who would rather be alone than disrespected. She doesn't want to mother you. She wants to feel the raw magnetism of a man she can't tame. But you've been taught the opposite, to be tame first, and maybe if you're lucky, she'll choose you. She won't, because by the time you've made yourself safe, she's already looking for the man who makes her nervous again. The man who doesn't flinch when she tests him. The man who walks away while you beg. The man who knows that love isn't won through servitude, it's drawn out of tension, risk, polarity. You weren't rejected because you were too kind. You were rejected because you were boring. No polarity, no fire. Just a warm, forgettable fog of comfort, and a man who was so scared to be dangerous, he became disposable. The first rule is brutal, but clear. Stop trying to be the man she told you she wanted. Be the man she can't control. She says she wants a man who listens, a man who's gentle, emotionally available, who always asks how she's feeling. But let me ask you something. When she was 19 and wild and reckless, who did she fall in love with? Was it the soft-spoken classmate who carried her books and texted goodnight? Or the brooding storm of a man who never explained himself, who disappeared for days and came back like nothing happened, and somehow made her heart race every time he walked into the room? You already know the answer. She says kindness, but her body responds to something else. Here's the second truth. Kindness doesn't excite her, power does. And not just the power to dominate. The power to walk away. The power to speak without begging to be understood. The power to be unaffected by her emotional chaos. Women are drawn to men who make them feel unstable, not because they enjoy pain, but because that instability makes them feel. Kindness without power creates a flat line. No challenge, no polarity, no gravity to pull her deeper. You thought being endlessly available would win her. But every time you said, "I'll do whatever you want," what she heard was, "I don't have a spine. I don't have standards. I'll become whoever you need me to be. Just please don't leave." You became invisible. And invisibility kills attraction. Jung wrote, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." Your kindness is only noble if you've faced your darkness and chosen the light. But you've avoided the fire entirely. You've tried to earn love by being safe, quiet, inoffensive. And now you're just forgettable. You gave without tension, listened without conviction, supported without judgment. You gave her the illusion of perfection, but she doesn't want perfection. She wants presence. And presence only comes from power. The power to stand in who you are, even if she doesn't like it. The power to lead instead of follow. The power to say no. That crosses my line. The power to enforce your boundaries with calm, not rage, because true power doesn't need volume. She doesn't want to dominate you. She wants to feel that you could dominate the world and choose to share it with her. But you didn't share it. You gave it away. You handed her the throne, then begged for her loyalty. But respect doesn't grow in submission. Respect is born in friction, in the clash of wills, in the heat of polarity. It's not comfortable, it's not easy, but it's real. Here's the part you don't want to hear. If your kindness isn't grounded in power, she'll walk right over you, and then blame you for letting her do it. Because no woman can love a man she doesn't respect. And she cannot respect the man who sacrifices himself to be liked. You made her queen of a kingdom without a king. And then you wondered why she stopped kneeling. Kindness is beautiful. When it comes from a man who can say enough, who can say, "I won't chase, I won't beg, I won't break myself to keep you." That man, the man with power behind his kindness, is the one she remembers. The second truth is this. She's not turned on by how kind you are. She's turned on by how untouchable you are, and yet you choose her anyway. You thought pleasing her would buy you safety. You made yourself available. You made her laugh. You listened. You planned dates, remembered anniversaries, texted first every morning. You became the man who anticipated her needs before she even voiced them. And what did she do? She started pulling away, little by little. Less affection, less attention, more excuses, more irritation. Until one day, she was gone, and you were left wondering how kindness could push her away. The third truth. The more you try to please her, the more she loses respect for you. Let that sink in. Every time you say yes, when you mean no, she sees it. Every time you suppress your frustration just to avoid conflict, she senses it. Every time you bend just to make her comfortable, she feels it not as love, but as weakness. You trained her to take you for granted. And worse, you taught her that your time, your energy, your attention had no value. Because it was always there, always free, always desperate to be accepted. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." But your absurdity wasn't grand. It was small, quiet, hidden in acts of people-pleasing. You lost your soul trying to win hers. Because when a man lives to please a woman, he becomes her reflection, not her counterpart. He becomes soft where he should be steel. He becomes reactive instead of grounded. He becomes something even she doesn't recognize. Not a man, a servant in love's costume. She didn't leave because you were kind. She left because you had no self-respect. Because your need to please her became louder than your need to respect yourself. And deep down, you felt it. The self-betrayal. The quiet humiliation of agreeing with things you disagreed with. Laughing at jokes you didn't find funny. Staying silent when she crossed a line, just to keep the peace. But you weren't keeping peace. You were killing desire, because nothing dries up a woman's love faster than a man who lets himself be ruled. You see, she doesn't want you to orbit her. She wants to orbit something greater in you. She wants to feel your gravity, your standards, your edge. She wants to feel that being with you is a choice, not a guarantee. She wants to feel that if she oversteps, she'll lose you. But you made yourself permanent, predictable, passive, and now you wonder why she's cold, why she's distant, why she tells her friends she loves you, but isn't in love. It's because there's nothing left to conquer, nothing to challenge her, nothing to admire. You've handed her a mirror, not a man. The harsh truth is this: a woman doesn't want to be your God. She wants to kneel before something greater in you, something you refuse to build when your entire identity is built around her approval. Stop pleasing. Start leading. Stop reacting. Start deciding. Stop chasing her comfort and start chasing your own depth. Because the more you try to become what she says she wants, the more she forgets why she wanted you in the first place. This is not about becoming cruel. It's about becoming sovereign. And sovereignty is the one thing she cannot resist, because it's the one thing she can never own. The third truth is carved in stone. If you give up your spine to keep her, she'll walk away and never look back. You believe that if you give her more, she'll stay. If you love harder, forgive, quicker explain yourself calmly, she'll understand your worth. If you're endlessly patient, always available, never angry, she'll finally realize you're the man she's been searching for. But she already sees you. She sees you as harmless, predictable, powerless. Because the moment you made kindness your strategy, you began negotiating from a place of fear. Here's the fourth rule. Kindness without boundaries isn't virtue. It's self-betrayal, and she smells it. Every time you tolerate behavior that violates your values, every time you let her test your limits without consequence, every time you reward disrespect with more effort, you're not showing love. You're showing desperation. You're signaling to her that your love is a bottomless pit and your dignity is disposable. You may think this is noble, but to her, it's pathetic. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But your why isn't rooted in purpose. It's rooted in her approval, and so you bend. And bend, and bend until the man she once respected snaps into a spineless caricature. Do you know what a woman sees when you let her overstep? She sees a man who values her feelings more than his own reality. A man who would rather be liked than be true. A man who fears conflict more than he fears becoming invisible. She may not say it out loud, but deep down she begins to loathe you for it. Because if you won't defend yourself from her, how can you protect her from the world? Your kindness becomes her burden. You become her emotional butler, always present, always polite, always afraid. You don't challenge her. You don't lead her. You don't inspire her. You serve her and then wonder why she looks elsewhere for the man she dreams of. You see, kindness must have a backbone. It must have a sword behind it. Without that sword, it's not love, it's appeasement. She doesn't need you to agree. She needs to feel your presence. She needs to feel the boundaries of a man who knows what he allows and what he doesn't. Because a man without limits is a man without value. If anyone can access your love, no matter how they treat you, that love becomes worthless. If you never walk away, your presence becomes a guarantee. And guarantees breed boredom. You don't win a woman by offering your soul on a silver platter. You win her by making her work to access the parts of you that matter. And when you set boundaries, when you say this is not okay, when you walk away from disrespect without explanation, that's when she feels something real. Because now, she's in the presence of a man. Not a boy desperate for validation, not a soft echo of her own moods, but a sovereign being, unshakable. The world will tell you that boundaries are selfish, that being firm is cruel. But the truth is crueler. If you don't set your boundaries, she will lose her respect. And once respect dies, love follows. So draw the line. Speak the no. Walk away when your soul is being bartered for temporary affection. You were not born to serve at her altar. You were born to stand tall at your own. The fourth rule stands eternal. If your kindness doesn't protect you, it will destroy you. You didn't lose her because you were too kind. You lost her because you vanished. Every time you swallowed your needs, every time you reshaped yourself to fit her expectations, every time you smiled, while your soul screamed, you erased another piece of yourself. You weren't rejected because you were too loving. You were rejected because there was no you left to love. The final rule is simple and brutal. She didn't leave you for being kind. She left because you no longer existed. You thought your sacrifices were noble. That silencing your opinions was maturity. That absorbing disrespect was patience. That staying silent when she tested you was strength. But those weren't virtues. They were confessions. Confessions that you didn't believe in your own worth. That you saw love as something to be earned, not offered. That you were willing to disappear to stay wanted. Nietzsche warned us, the man of knowledge must be able not only to love his enemies, but also to hate his friends. Why? Because truth requires confrontation. And you were too scared to confront anything, not her, not yourself, not even the pain of being unwanted. So instead of leading, you followed. Instead of setting boundaries, you begged. Instead of building a life she could enter, you made her your life. And now you wonder why she walked away. She didn't walk away from you. She walked away from the absence of you. Because no woman wants to carry the weight of both her emotions and yours. No woman wants to play goddess to a man who abandoned his backbone just to keep her attention. No woman wants to build a future with a man who can't even protect his own identity. She wanted to feel your essence. She wanted the man who held the fire. The man who stood for something. The man who could tell her, I love you, but I will not betray myself for you. Instead, you told her, I'll become whatever you need, just don't leave. So she left anyway. Because if she has to tell you how to be a man, she'll never see you as one. And now the truth stands naked in front of you. You didn't lose her because you were too much. You lost her because you were nothing solid to hold on to. Being kind is not your crime. Erasing yourself is. It is not kindness that repels women. It is weakness disguised as kindness. Compliance disguised as love. Surrender disguised as care. You were taught to be nice. But no one taught you how to be whole. How to be kind and firm. Gentle but unmovable. Loving and yet willing to walk away the moment your soul is compromised. Because real love doesn't require you to disappear. And if your love demands your silence, your submission, your self-erasure, then that's not love. That's slow suicide. The final rule will haunt you until you live it. She didn't replace you because you were too kind. She replaced you because you stopped being a man. Now you stand at the edge of two paths. One leads to the same cycle you've walked 100 times. A path of nice words and small betrayals. Of soft smiles and swallowed truths. Of being the man who gives too much, waits too long, and dies a little each time she says, "You're amazing." But I just don't feel it. The other path. It's lonely, ruthless, cold, but it's yours. You walk alone. Not because you hate women. Not because you're bitter. But because the man who knows his worth doesn't beg for company. You've spent your life trying to be chosen. Now it's time to become the man who does the choosing. Not from ego, but from clarity. Clarity that says, I will never again become less just to be loved more. Nietzsche didn't speak to cowards. He wrote for the man who had the courage to become a storm. He wrote for the man who was willing to burn down his illusions and rise from the ashes, not softer, not sweeter, but truer. Become who you are. He didn't say change. He said become. Because the real you, the man beneath the masks, beneath the performance, has always been dangerous. You buried that man to be kind, to be liked, to be acceptable. Now dig him out. He doesn't apologize for his standards. He doesn't flinch when tested. He doesn't soften his words to be understood. He speaks, he walks, and the world adjusts to his weight. You thought she left because you weren't enough, but she left because you were never fully there to begin with. The world respects men who respect themselves. Women desire men who carry gravity, not the man who orbits, but the man who stands still while others spin around him. So what will you choose? To keep walking toward validation, hoping that one day someone will finally see your worth, or to stop chasing altogether and become the kind of man whose presence makes people sit up straighter? There is no peace in pleasing. There is no love without respect. And there is no you without truth. So I'll tell you what no one else will. Walk alone or die in illusion. Because a man without self-respect is not a man. He's just a shadow waiting for permission to matter. And no woman, no matter how beautiful, will ever love a man who doesn't love his own spine. It's time to reclaim it.